Hello, it's Collette from the Sacred Rose Temple, and I'm here to give you this week's energy report. As always, in these challenging and changing times, there is much going on in our collective unconscious and lots for us to reflect on as the planets do their thing and our emotions and our humanness collide with the movement that's all around us. It feels like everything is still intense. There is much to be learned, I think, about our human experience and behaviors. And so, really, we're in that catacomb of deep transformation and soul integration that there is no let up, really. There are moments for breath, but generally, it feels for all of us doing the inner work that there is this relentless lesson and feelings of change that's needed. And I think that is absolutely the truth about the way we find ourselves in the world at the moment. But I really think that what's happening is that we're trying to find the way of our souls. I think we've lost the soul way and we've been living in the head way. We really have. We've lived from minds and thoughts and woundings and pains and patterns and cycles that have been detrimental to us. And so the world shows us by the way it behaves as a collective. And really, what we're trying to be, fried into, boiled into, it feels like, is to be more in touch with our souls and the way that soul wishes to lead our lives. I think what's going to happen this week is what we're going to like sit on is the bed of emotional attachments that we've created in the past. I think many of us have been wrangling with emotional attachments that we have, whether that's relational, whether that's to do with your home, your partner, your job. We've had an attachment, and that attachment that we've had to let go of, or we're in the midst of prizing ourselves away from, has been rooted in the wounds, in the patterns, in the unworthiness, and in all those things that is screaming to be changed within us. So I've been super emotional. I had such a somatic release yesterday over something that was happening in my body and lots of emotions. I was feeling really great, deep grief for the feminine and still for the way we see women being treated and my own experiences as a woman and places of not feeling safe and still yet the masculine isn't fully aware of what it's like to be in the body of a woman and to be in danger in many spaces. And yeah, and it's something I've refused to do, is to live in fear, but there's always little things that happen to us as feminine that just makes us wake up a little more to say you're quite vulnerable and that things haven't changed greatly, where the feminine is worshipped, prized, revered, and taken care of. There's still the threat to our sexuality, to our bodies, our minds, and our sovereignty. So that's really been coming up for me in the week, and I think it'll forward in the week with some of the woundings that I'm dealing with in my own emotional landscape. But the key here is emotion. We're so removed from emotion. I've been doing emotional healing work for over 15 years, and still there are times where I repress. And it can be tiresome to be in emotion all the time. And we don't want to be in what we call woundology, where we're always, in emotion. But there are some things we can't escape. There are some times that we can feel where we're pressing emotion, where we're heady, where we're totally unaware of the emotions that are driving certain behaviors in us. So I think as the sun in Cancer is opposite Pluto, that happens on the 17th this week, amongst other things, there's quite a deep karmic confrontation happening in all of us, where the light meets shadow, where family patterns or mother wounds or deep grief may arise. And it's not a punishment. It really isn't. This is what's been happening for me this morning. I'm feeling this really deep emotional attachment. I feel it deeply embedded in my, you know, family. I feel it deeply embedded in the female lineage, and I'm trying to allow that to purify through the tears, through the sacred fire that burns away these things. And I did really feel last night in my practice that I wanted to say, like, I don't want to hold this anymore. I really have felt this enough and held this long enough to release this from the lineage. And I, as the woman of the lineage who's doing the deep healing work, I stand here for you all to say that I am not doing this anymore. I let this go. So if this resonates, really make that declaration, stand up for what you are not continuing to perpetuate within the feminine lineage, within your ancestry. It's time to change. And that is the essence of the week. There is some heart-wrenching changes that want to come about, and we are holding on. We are holding on. We're so good at holding on. Hey, I'm a Taurus. I'm really good at digging my feet in the earth and holding on. And that gets uncomfortable. Like our beloved will do what it can to make sure that that earth is we're unrooted, because it's got bigger plans for us. The beloved wants the very best for us, and change is the tertiary of our journey as and when it feels it's time. And I'm really sinking into that. Some of you may have seen that I've posted about time to surrender my home to the bigger plan, and it's absolutely devastatingly painful for me. I absolutely adore where I live, the landscape, the garden, what I've done to the home. It's my dream. And for some reason, I've got a huge, deep knowing that's come from releasing lots of emotion that it's time for me to move on. And I'm finding that very difficult as a Taurian, though I am going with the flow of making that change. So feel that listening within to that deeper knowing will bring about the changes, even if they're painful, even if it's like, I don't want to do this. I'm like a baby at the moment. It is for the greater good. And that's what I want to fall into the most. I trust the beloved. I totally 100% trust the beloved in what is trying to be changed for me. But it doesn't mean I need to bypass the emotion of how that makes me feel. So I've been allowing those feelings. Yeah, the 17th is really going to be pivotal, because not only is Sun in the Cancer opposite Pluto, we've got the Mercury in retrograde. And so Mercury in retrograde in Leo is going to be like that dicey time. We know that it's not really a time to plan things or to get too fixed on things going right. And we need to really be careful what we say. Emotions are high, as I've just shared, and we're trying to release emotional attachments and feel the way of our soul. So be careful what you say in moments of triggers or just feeling very vulnerable. Like, be careful what you say to other people. People are quite sensitive at the moment. So choose your words carefully, be sensitive. It's also about checking your ego. Like, just check your ego, that your ego is not the thing that's making decisions for you or jumping into conversation or holding steadfast to a belief or an ideology, because we are trying in this landscape to lose forced ideologies. There's so many of them that have been forced upon us that we're to behave a certain way. I want to go deeper into this in a bit, but forced ideologies come, and our ego tends to want to defend them. So that might mean we feel that we hold on to our pride in certain situations because ideology really wants to change or belief wants to change within us. So remember, the easiest way around ego and the easiest way around being able to not be right all the time is to drop it into the heart and to the soul, if you can, to say what is really coming up for me here now. Do I truly feel? That allows you to get rid of some of the shame that does keep you attached in loops of ego, defensiveness, shadow. The shame gets released, and we can just let that go. It will also allow new creativity to come in. The Mercury retrograde in Leo, if we can put the ego to one side, share from our heart, release some shame, we can find ourselves in a really creative spot. And I want to share something that I read this week, within my Jungian group with regards to creativeness with a purpose really loses its energy. And true creativity is doing something not for a reason or not for it to have a purpose, but just for the sheer hell of doing it. And it made me really think about creativity in my own life that, yeah, probably most creativity I do has a purpose. But what if I was just to give free lib to my creativity and say, be creative, and it doesn't need to look a certain way? It doesn't have to be purposeful. It's not for a certain ending. It's purely to be creative. So I ask you to reflect on that. When was your last creative for the pure hell of it? I think it's a really lovely space to delve into. On the 18th, there is Venus in Leo trine with Chiron in Aries, and this is where the softening comes in. This heart space I'm talking about. It's the day after the Mercury retrograde in Leo, and our heart heals in places where it was once scorched by shame or rejection. And the feminine radiance, that feminine, the anima within us becomes a medicine. It's time to really soften in ourselves and be kind to ourselves. Let the shame go. Allow yourself to feel the rejections. They're going to shape you. And that will allow you to reconnect to that creative fire I was just speaking about. So yeah, it's big work this week, but of a beautiful nature. I know we find emotion so difficult, feel so painful sometimes, but releasing that and allowing in creativity is a fair exchange, I believe. So what I want to really talk about is just this losing forced ideologies. I think it's really important to kind of framework certain beliefs and ideologies that have been imposed on you. They come from our family a lot, like imposed patterns like no sex before marriage, or if you do X, Y, and Z, that's shameful, or if you behave in this way, that's bad, or if you don't become a profession, well, that's just like, your woo woo or whatever. We've got them all over the place, injected into our blood. I know that I grapple still with many of them. And I think this is a time over the next few weeks, actually, to be looking at the forced ideologies that have been placed on you by others, wounds, projections, upbringings, cultural beliefs, all of it, all in that big bag. I know as a person, I have had to fight, literally fight, to be who I am, to really allow myself to express myself in the way that I do, to like what I like, to live a life the way I wish to live it, because it goes against the principles of those ideologies from culture, from family, from upbringing. And usually, when I find myself in situations where I'm having to explain my behavior or my way of life or the work I do, or I'm generally dealing with a pattern that I am trying to overcome. And I was thinking about this morning as I returned back to England for the first time in 8 years, that I am going back to the past, and I have changed significantly in those 8 years, and how I hold my space and be sovereign about who I am, what I've chosen to do, and how I've chosen to live my life. So, dare you be who you are? Dare you be who you really are? This is the whole pivotal point of Jungian individuation for me. Is Jung said, becoming who you truly are is individuation. And I think that's really, really, really significant for us women, really is that we are, and men, I know there are men that listen to this, instead of fighting to be who we are against voices that do not understand you, save your energy and use the energy to fully, fully be who you are. This is wild emotion. This is the energy of the elder, of the crone, of the wise woman who is who she is, who's lived a life that has allowed her, through suffering, through pain, through all her experiences, to be who she truly wants to be or he wants to be. And that asks us to hold really strong boundaries. So we're going to get tested on those boundaries. Have strong boundaries. Don't let people who are hell bent on just tear you down, walk away. Save your energy. Don't be in places of constantly explaining yourself and what you're about. Live what you're about, live who you are. And if people can't catch up or have problems with that, let them walk away. There are people in our lives who will meet us exactly where we are. They will think we're beautiful, amazing, and wonderful for exactly what we do and what we feel. So seek those out, really seek them out. It's a big week. And I think what is the most potent medicine of the week is the emotional work. When we're emotional, when we allow the emotions, when we feel where we've been repressing ourselves, we get close to the soul. And when we're close to the soul, it wants to be expressive creatively, verbally. It wants to express itself in the way we live our lives and how we live forward. There's going to be some significant kind of reflections on feminine and masculine relationships externally, maybe mother, father, maybe you, father, you or mother, and also within your own self. The sacred feminine, which Cancer, and the sacred masculine Capricorn are in tension at this moment. So it's really an alchemical moment to repair the inner marriage. And as I look at this, it was not surprising. I had a conversation with a friend last week saying to her, I feel this inner struggle of my feminine and masculine. And I've done so much work in integrating my animus now that sometimes I kind of put him to one side because I'm like, don't come forward. And then he feels like a little left out. So, yeah, what does the feminine need in you to feel safe? And that goes for men and women. And what does our masculine need to feel respected? I think they're really good questions to go forward with the inner marriage within yourself of inner feminine and masculine relating. And I think when we're in situations of like singledom, if we've not got an external partner, the partner that's missing is that internal thread in you. So work needs to be done now, I see, on just more softer animus work within me, allowing my feminine to come forward deeply. Now he's taken a back seat. So, what work do you need to do here if there is no man in your life? What's happening with your animus? And the same for you, men. If there's no woman, what's going on with your anima? And if you're in relationship and there's things that need working on, look at the contrasex, look at the feminine in your masculine man as yours that needs to work, and so on and so forth. It's really, really deep work and it really changes things. I'd also say that you really allow the tears with the emotions this week. See them that they're sacred waters, they're going to initiate your next becoming, and that you really feel that you are in a transformation period. You're transforming, and that transformation requires creativity, emotion, feeling, and the soul leading. Oh, so yeah, I'm wishing you all like really big hugs this week. I know you're going to need a hug. I would really love a hug right now as we navigate through this emotional water to find creative fire and to find a soul aligned life. What does that mean? What does that look like? Navigate it, feel it, let it flow through you, open up to investigate all of this from a heart and soul place. So until next week, I'm wishing you all much love. And just to let you know, the energy report won't land on Monday as I am away at a beautiful family gathering, a wedding of my brother. And so it will be in the week that I produce the energy forecast, but there will be one. So don't worry. Take care of yourself. I'm sending you so much love. Bye for now.